Everyone says, oh, it's the woodworker, it's not the tools. This is what people with tools say. Good morning, friends, and welcome to the last episode of the year for the Urban Homesteading channel with Professor DIY, Mrs. DIY, and Grandpa DIY. So for many years now, we have gone by pretending this, is that an ottoman?
It is a storage ottoman, yes.
Has been our coffee table, and we even built a little device on top of it to make it even more believable, right?
Right. Well, this was used as a tray to kind of help us have snacks at the couch.
However, it is not a coffee table, no matter what we try to do, right?
Right.
So today we're thinking to build a coffee table, to have actually a proper coffee table to have our coffee on. So if you stick around, we're going to show you how to build a contemporary / modern, easy to build, we hope, coffee table. Stick around. You are my favorite viewer, and this is going to be a very good episode. We're going to start by taking some rough measurements. This doesn't have to be exact, we just need to have a sense of the space, right?
Right.
And Mrs. DIY is trying to get a sense of how large she wants it or the general dimensions she wants it. Okay, what do you think, Mrs.
I think I
DIY?
want it a little bit longer than this one, not by much, maybe 32 inches here.
Okay.
And a little bit deeper. I was thinking, 18 inches is about there, maybe 20 at the most. What do you think?
I'm fine with it. And those dimensions are totally up to you and your space and your likes, right? It is not a...
Right.
I don't know how big normally coffee tables are, and I'm not sure there is a standard size, is there?
No, coffee tables come in all shapes and sizes.
And how tall you want it? The same height as this is?
I think a little bit higher, maybe 18 inches off the floor.
Okay.
Which is right here, just a little bit higher. A lot of coffee tables are, as you know, and this isn't a coffee table, but we're using it as one, are lower than, your couch. And I don't really like leaning over to pick up my cup of coffee. So I was thinking if we could have it a little bit higher, maybe something a little bit closer, to the height of the seat, which is about 18, 19 inches here.
All right, excellent. So next we're going to write those measurements down so we don't forget them. And we're going to head out to the store.
So we're talking about the measurements we just made. Kind of it's an estimate, and we can change it because we're building it. But this is what we think, and this is the general shape. It's going to be a rather thick, 1.5 inches thick piece of wood all the way around in a box shape. And it's going to be about 30 inches wide, about 18 inches deep, and about 18 inches high. That's what we're going for right now. And we're planning to put a little base on it so that recesses just underneath the bottom shelf and provides a little bit of additional lift.
Okay. And again, the dimensions are totally up to you, and we plan to use dimensional lumber, 2x4 or 2x6, not the 2x4, 2x6 or 2x8.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly more than one.
Yeah.
And that's the next step, calculating lumber, right?
Right.
So is it 2x6 or 2x8 you want?
Well, I'd love a 2x8.
So this is how many inches?
2x8 is 16, which is not enough for the 18.
No, how many inches is the length of the board?
An 8-foot board is 96 inches.
We wanted to calculate linear feet, right? So 30 plus 18 plus 30 plus 18. That will give us the linear feet we need, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is 60, right? European math here. This is 36, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is 96. So that's exactly the dimension there.
It is.
Okay.
But you haven't calculated the 18 inches deep part.
Not yet. I'm looking at linear
Okay.
feet. So one board will give us, clearly we need more than one board, right? This will be stacked. And we were thinking maybe 3 boards.
Yeah.
A 4-inch board is really 3.5, right?
Right?
So 3 times 3.5 is 9.5, which is not 18. Is that also 19, right? So we're going to calculate how many boards we need and we'll be right back with you. After some very extensive and high-level mathematical calculations, we decided we need 4 boards, right?
Yep.
And part of this weird calculation is that a 6-inch wide board is actually 5.5 inches, and we will need to take the round over away out of the boards.
Right.
So we'll need 4 boards, 4 by 8 by, is it 8 or 6? What dimension we'll calculate it?
6.
So we'll need to buy 4 8-foot boards for the project. And at this point, you need to decide if you want it to be butt joints or miters, right? Butt joints will look like this. Miters will look like this. Are you impressed with my
Very. The
artistic ability here?
Yes. Genius.
It is a matter of preference, right?
Right.
It shouldn't change the length of the boards at all. It will change how you cut them, but nothing else. And also how you want to attach it.
Right. So, if you're going to use screws or if you're going to use pocket holes or whatever, it definitely is worth considering how you want to fasten these boards together when you make your project before you ever start cutting anything.
Okay. And we might use pocket holes or we might use screws. If you use screws on something like this, it makes sense to make the screws a part of the design, right?
Right. In a pattern.
So they are visible. But our next step will be to head to the big box store. We're DIY pros, right?
Yep.
So we are at Lowe's looking at 2x6s, and because we're going to need a nice surface and joints, we want to choose boards that do not have a cap or a bow. Does that make sense?
Or twisted.
Yeah, well, if they don't have a cap or a bow, they're not twisted. So we're going to spend a little bit of time choosing 4 boards, and we'll show them to you, like our pride in children. So we're back from the store with all our material. We put we bought 4 2x6x8.
Yep.
And 1 2x2x8, it looks like, right?
Yep.
And that's all the material we think we need.
That's what we think.
Luckily, from the new place, Lowe's is much closer than from the old place, right? So
Right. So if we make an error in judgment when we're at the store, we can fix it fairly quickly.
quick care. So we are going to show you, like always, every step of the way of what we're going to do. This is going to be a similar look to this TV stand that we're going to finish today, but we'll show to you a couple of episodes away, right? Mm-hmm. But this is a general shape without the top.
Yep.
And as always, we are going to show you every step of the way, and you are our favorite viewer. So friends, today we're going to turn 4 boards like this into one beautiful coffee table like this. First step is to take our pieces of wood, our 2x4x6s, right? Mm-hmm. No, it's the 2x6x8, sorry. And make 45s. We decided to go with a 45 versus a butt joint. Even though we've never done it with this saw, and I don't have the equipment to make sure that the 45 degree is accurate. We've put it exactly where 45 is on the saw, but have never done it before, so I don't know. We pray that it is accurate, right? I don't have my squares, I don't have the equipment to test it, because you can adjust that if it is wrong. But for now, we're just going, and worst case scenario, we make it into a butt joint if we don't like it.
Right.
All right, so we're going to start cutting the 45s. We'll be right back with you. What a beautiful abstract art we created here. Wow. As you guys can see, we gave up on our 45s. Right, Mrs.
Our
DIY?
45s were not working out for us today.
And the reason for that was because this saw, unfortunately, is not really close to 45 degrees.
Yeah, it needs some tweaking or some refining, some real good measurements.
So even though 45s will be our preference, we're going to go with butt joints, which are not really bad. We've used them in our furniture. It looks really good. So we're going to switch gears. We'll get rid of our 45s. We're going to cut a bunch of lumber, so we won't bore you with that. And when we're done, we're going to get back with you and show you a first dry fit.
Okay.
So we've cut the two lengths we need, and we need 8 pieces of each length to make our rectangular.
Yep.
So the next step is to take the rounding out of the board.
Right.
And we're just setting it on our saw. And we're going to do all the boards on one side. Then we're going to reset the saw and do all the boards on the other side.
Right.
That is the most efficient way to do it.
And to make them all the exact
Right.
dimension, right? And here's the remainder of our boards. We'll have to do the same for these. But they should be all the same width starting out, so we can do them all at the same time.
Covering sawdust.
It's snowing in the garage.
One of the bad things with this saw, we cannot figure out dust collection, right?
Right.
Even vacuum or no vacuum, it makes a mess.
Yep. So we have our dust collection system set up as it is. And yeah, we get snowed on.
All right. 1,000 more to go. So this is one of the 4 sections. All 4 sections will be identical. And we are ready to start putting them together. Unfortunately, I do not have my crack jig with me. That would be the ideal connection system here, because in the bottom it will be hidden, no one will ever see it. And in the top again, it will be hidden. If you do it underneath, no one will be seeing it. So for now, we're going to just put the 4 together and we'll figure out how we're going to attach them to each other. I might have to go and buy another little jig, I guess. I'm not really sure. But you see the general dimensions. And this was my Christmas gift. They're corner clamps to complement the red clamps we have, but they were not here. They are much more heavy duty, and they have a much better strength, especially for something big like this. Of the project done. Now we do not have our pocket screw jig. The pocket holes will be the ideal connection for this, right?
Right.
We chose to go with visible screws because that's the only way we could connect it.
Right.
You can go with dowels. Again, this is not expensive equipment, but we just don't have it with us right now.
Right.
So that's the only limitation I guess we have, right?
Yeah. So we're trying to make what we have available to us right now work for this project. And I guess it would mimic, what more of a beginner
Right.
person would have at their disposal. So
Correct. And many times this industrial look with the screws visible is not a bad look. I like it. I don't think you care that much about it.
yeah, it's not my favorite, but we're gonna make it work.
So in essence, we're going to make 4 frames like this and we'll connect them. The connecting part is the sticky part right now because without the pocket jig, we're not sure how to do the connection, right?
Right.
All right, we'll be right back. So a lot of cutting and screwing and cursing later. Well, no, not cursing. We do not curse. And if you don't like it as a coffee table, it can be a raised bed for
Stop it.
No? You don't like that idea. Okay. Okay, now we're going to dry fit it in the correct orientation and see how it's supposed to attach all our screws. In our next step, we're using again double-sided tape to attach a little base to make it look like it elevates. It's floating, right? We're not on floating period.
Well, yeah.
Now again, this is an easy way to do it. You do not risk splitting the wood, and you can change it if you want later. Double-sided tape is removable. In the process, try not to cut your fingers. So what we'll do after Mrs. DIY finishes all the tape, we'll take the other side of the tape protector off, and we're going to attach it to the bottom of the table. Alrighty? So we're going to do that. Well, friends, this is the simple project that wasn't. It is our finished project other than finished, right? So it's not finished. It is constructed, I guess. Is the right
Yes,
term.
it is constructed. It's builded.
And we like the size and the shape of it. There is a lot of space underneath to store things, and we might put a couple of baskets in there.
Yep.
So the next step will be finishing, but we've run out of time for today. So Mrs. DIY, this was a very simple project, right?
Well, we thought it was. But, you know, we went through a couple of different iterations and a couple of different trial and errors, from mitered corners to, what do you call it? Butt joints. I should remember that one. And then we, you know, had some little hiccups here and there, but overall the design is pretty cool. It is a little bit rustic, a little less of the modern flair that we were thinking of, but we still like it. It definitely meets our expectations, and it's going to be a nice piece.
And we end up using pocket hole screws, because we had gifted, I'm trying to find it, so don't be on me. You know, we were gifted a portable jig, which now has disappeared. We were gifted this portable Craig jig, which we should have used in the beginning if we didn't want the screws. I frankly like the screws. I like the look. I've always liked that look, right? But if you don't want them, pocket screws are perfect for this project because they can be completely hidden, right? Yeah. In fact, we've used pocket screws on this project. That's how we connect the segments together.
Yeah, that's how we went from, you know, 4 rectangles to having them all joined together.
And if you come around, please, Mrs. DIY, and if you can see, there are no pocket screws there because simply we went underneath. And that's where the pocket holes are. And for the top, they're also underneath. But the likelihood that anyone will see them is very, very small. Maybe a toddler crawling, right? I mean, they're very well hidden in the same way you can hid them if you wanted to connect the frames.
Yeah.
That is a perfect project for pocket screws. But so we were challenged, and I think everyone says, oh, it's the woodworker, it's not the tools. This is what people with tools say. I just have to say that, right? Because today we most certainly were wanting for our tools.
Yep.
I don't know about you.
Specific tools that would have made our lives easier today.
And would have prevented us from making little mistakes that end up compounding and cost us more material and things like that, right?
Yep.
So while the project is not difficult, it demonstrated and humbled us in showing that even a simple project requires care and attention to detail, right?
Yep, for sure.
The outcome is very good, and as you can see, it has this floating look that we were going for. And we might make a different video for the finish.
Yeah, definitely this is going to be sanded really nicely, and you're going to get all the fuzzies off, and we're going to paint it, we're going to stain it a very nice color.
Definitely, it surprised me how long it took us to make it. I thought it would be a couple of hour build, to be honest. So that goes to tell you that even if you have woodwork for many years, little projects can throw you off your game. Of course, it doesn't help that both me and Mrs. DIY are recovering from a rather nasty cold, Christmas cold, right? So none of us is operating in full capacity, which of course exacerbated the little mistake. DIY, how much did this wonderful table cost us, and could we have gone to a retail store and just purchased something like this?
Well, you could purchase something like this, and of course it's not in its completely finished state. But to purchase something of this size, dimension, the thickness of the wood, you would probably pay $600 to $700. I've seen online. Some of them with the miters and whatever, but they're pretty pricey. And we paid $8 per board.
For four boards?
For 4 boards, so that was $32, and another $3 for a 2x2 by 8, and so yeah, $35 plus the screws that we had.
And just to put it in perspective, this is the raw material we use. This is just a leftover, right?
Yep.
So we took really dimensional board, not expensive lumber at all, and we turned it into a nice piece of furniture.
I think so.
But in any case, I will call this a beginner project if you use screws, an intermediate project if you use miters, See, all right, my brain doesn't work, screws and miters.
Right.
If you use butt joints, is a beginner project. If you use miters, is an intermediate project.
And if you don't use, what do you call this type of lumber?
Dimensional lumber.
Dimensional lumber, and you use more finished boards, it's going to be a lot easier on you because you won't have to worry about, any bows or, cupping or things that you have to match up because the boards aren't perfect.
And we had to fight it to align it to look the way it looks now.
We definitely did have to fight it.
So you can do it, and to me, it's better than particle board. It's still solid wood,
definitely.
Right? So I like it. I like the style. I like that we made it ourselves. And if you like it, we'll appreciate a thumbs up. If you didn't hit the other button twice, share, like, subscribe. Let us know what else you might want to watch in the new year. We hope you had a wonderful 2024. We hope you have a fabulous 2025. From Professor DIY and Mrs. DIY, let's build something together. And Happy New Year.